Do you buy the criticism of aid? Because we were suspending aid, and you were the Secretary of State who came in and said, turn the tap on again and give him the cash.
Well, I suspended it and then I restored it, and indeed it has been restored not as general budget support, so David is actually wrong on that point, but as specific support to agriculture and education. And, you know, we know in Rwanda that the quality of the way our money is spent is yielding quite remarkable results. So, for example, in the last 3 or 4 years, Rwanda has managed to lift more than 1 million people out of poverty. It's a remarkable success story
and we know
in terms of development.
David was saying he was making up the statistics, and so we know that from our own evidence rather than his evidence.
Yes, of course. The British taxpayers' money has to be followed by DFID very carefully, and it is in Rwanda. David
was saying that a lot of people basically take the view, sometimes you just trample over human rights if you can get the economy right. Now, is that your view of how development sometimes works?
No, it's not, because I think we're right to press, as we do with Rwanda, that they open up the political space more and that they open up the media space too. But the fact is, they've made remarkable progress in the last 20 years since this terrible genocide took place and the country was destroyed. And the truth is that President Kagame rescued his country while the world looked the other way and has built a stable and strong state. And, you know, if you are a waitress working in Kigali tonight, you can walk home safely. And for people like that, that is the first and most important human right, that the violence, the terrible violence in Rwanda was ended.
Do you think the election tomorrow will be free and fair?
Yes, I do. I think, yes, I do. I think it will be, I suspect that he will win. I think his percentage will go down because the political space has been opened up. And although David is right that previous elections were marred by violence, that has not happened this time. In fact,
do we think his support, because in the last 2 elections he's been over 90%,
yeah, well, yes.
Is that a true reflection of public support for him?
Well, you know, I really think it is, because this is a country that was destroyed by violence, where neighbour killed neighbour, and he's stopped that. He's built an economy that is strong. Virtually all children now go to school in Rwanda, and as I say, huge numbers have been lifted out of poverty. But we have to be careful in Britain and in the West, not judging this always through a Westminster lens. And I say this to you, that although previous elections were marred by elements of violence, this election, so far, has been entirely peaceful. Indeed, it has been more peaceful than the British election, which took place a few months ago.
Yeah, but he's pulled up, the Electoral Commission has banned some of the most credible opponents.
No, there was one opponent who didn't have the correct number of supporters on her nomination paper. Now, in Britain, if you and I stand in an election, we have to have, there are very strict rules, a certain number of supporters who are on the register in our constituencies. She was in breach of that rule, and if I had been in breach of that rule at the last election in Sutton Coldfield, I would have not been struck off as well.
I'm listening to you, and I'm hearing your party mock and critique the Labour Party for its apologism for Venezuela and for Maduro and all that's going on there, and listening to you really taking a very unambivalent view of Kagame and what's going on there. Are you not just basically getting a bit starry-eyed in the way that others have?
No, you know, I first went to Rwanda in 2005. This is a country I know very well. We'll be taking the Conservative Party's social action Project Umubano there tomorrow night with 80 Tories and 6 MPs. We know Rwanda very well, and we know what is happening there. And I'm not mocking the Labour. I haven't said anything about the Labour Party in Venezuela, but I would argue that Rwanda and Venezuela are completely different
Rwanda's
countries.
Better run than Venezuela.
Much better run, yeah.
Andrew Mitchell, thank you very much indeed. Thanks.